Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're decoding the ultimate real-life level up, moving from a mindset of financial scarcity to unlocking the completely automated wealth-building cheat codes of your very first $1 million. If you've ever watched people living their absolute best financial lives while you're over there meticulously calculating your grocery budget, you know that the gap to a seven-figure milestone can feel impossibly wide. But today, we're going to break down exactly how you cross that gap and why, once you crack the code, building wealth becomes faster and way more automatic than you probably ever thought possible. Let's just validate a brutal truth right out of the gate here. Building that first million feels impossibly slow, literally like filling a swimming pool with a teaspoon. And it's not because you aren't hustling hard enough or because you haven't been eating ramen noodles for 20 years. It feels this way because you are fundamentally rewiring your brain's relationship with money entirely from scratch. The learning curve is incredibly steep, and honestly, you're fighting against your own ingrained spending habits and inflation, all while trying to build a solid foundation. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the first million illusion, escaping psychological wealth traps, building money muscle memory, mastering strategic debt, automating your financial systems, and finally, harnessing compound growth.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the first million illusion.
Look, blowing an emergency fund or picking a dud stock, those aren't character flaws. They're just your tuition payments to the University of Real-World Finance. When you first start out, you're probably going to panic sell during a market downturn, or you might chase some hot investment trend that goes absolutely nowhere. It happens. It's perfectly normal. You're basically paying to learn how money behaves in the wild. And trust me, every single millionaire has paid this exact same tuition.
Moving right along to Section 2, escaping psychological wealth traps.
Think about the fear cycle for a second. When you've only got $5,000 to your name, losing half of it in a market crash is absolutely devastating, right? It means years of your hard-earned progress wiped out. So what do? You play it safe. But playing it safe nets you lower returns, which ironically keeps you stuck in that vulnerable stage even longer. Now contrast that with someone who has $1 million. If the market drops 30%, yeah, they aren't exactly thrilled, but their psychological safety net lets them weather the storm without losing sleep. They can take aggressive, wealth-accelerating risks purely because they know they have the cushion to recover.
Which brings us to Section 3, building money muscle memory.
You know how learning to drive goes from nervously checking every single mirror and gripping the wheel to eventually just cruising completely on autopilot? Well, developing what we call money muscle memory does the exact same thing to your financial life. You start to automatically spot patterns. You can look at a bad deal and instinctively know to walk away in 30 seconds flat. It's honestly amazing. Something that might take a beginner of spreadsheets and a crystal ball to figure out just clicks intuitively for you. And once this muscle memory kicks in, you automatically redirect your cash right into wealth-building assets instead of blowing it on fleeting consumption. Let's level up to Section 4, mastering strategic debt. So while the average person kind of treats their paycheck like a permission slip to finance a depreciating lifestyle, taking on a $70,000 loan for a truck that loses value every year, or maxing out credit cards for a summer vacation, millionaires do the exact opposite. They view bad consumer debt as a giant hole in their financial bucket. Instead, they use strategic, good debt. They leverage other people's money to systematically acquire assets, like cash-flowing rental properties or business expansion loans. Basically, they're buying things that put actual cash into their pockets every single month. By the time someone hits that $1 million mark, they've completely flipped the script. They've become a highly sought-after creditor, which gives them the ultimate cheat code to just pounce on lucrative investment opportunities. Because they have top-tier credit and a rock-solid foundation of assets, banks are actually actively competing to lend them money at amazing terms. If a deeply undervalued property hits the market, a millionaire can act on it immediately. Meanwhile, the beginner is stuck sitting on the sidelines, without the down payment or the credit score to actually seize the deal. All right, Section 5, automating your financial systems. Instead of just crossing their fingers and hoping to make good choices every single month, the wealthy build foolproof automated systems. Think about it. Human emotions are literally the enemy of wealth building. Greed makes us chase hot trends, and fear makes us sell at the absolute bottom. By setting up systems that invest their money before it even hits their checking account, and by creating predefined rules for evaluating new opportunities, millionaires completely protect themselves from their own bad moods and fluctuating willpower. Good decisions become inevitable simply because the system handles it all in the background.
And then there's another layer to this whole systematic approach, what we can basically call legal cheat codes. While the average person pays their taxes first and then desperately tries to save whatever crumbs are left over, millionaires actively leverage the tax code's built-in incentives. They legally reduce their taxable income by turning everyday expenses into deductions, stuff like home offices and continuing education, while simultaneously supercharging their wealth through real estate depreciation and tax-advantaged accounts. It's honestly like playing a video game where one player knows all the cheat codes and the other is trying to fight the final boss with a starter weapon.
Finally, let's dive into Section 6, Harnessing Compound Growth.
Okay, buckle up, because this is where wealth compounding shifts from just grinding it out to an absolute exponential explosion. Let's say you have a $1 million portfolio earning a pretty modest 8% return. That money is generating $80,000 a year completely on autopilot. Just let that sink in for a second. Your money is likely out-earning your entire full-time salary without you lifting a single finger. This is that magical turning point where wealth building stops being about your personal physical labor and becomes entirely about the mind-bending math of compound growth. And because of that staggering compound growth, hitting your second million doesn't take another lifetime. It actually only takes about 9 years.
And watch this exponential curve really kick in. That third million, it crashes into your account in just 6 short years. Your money is now working significantly harder for you than you ever worked for it.
By the time you hit your fourth million, a brand new million is rolling in every 4 years, churning out nearly $320,000 annually. This gives you what we like to call financial vertigo. The numbers just get so massive and they grow so insanely fast that they almost stop feeling real. A $50,000 jump in your net worth in a single month, that just becomes another Tuesday.
This right here is exactly why millionaires absolutely obsess over optimizing their investments. And no, it's not about bragging rights at a fancy dinner party. Over a lifetime, capturing just an extra 2% in returns on a $1 million portfolio translates to an extra $20,000 every single year. Stretch that over a decade, and that tiny little optimization compounds into hundreds of thousands of dollars in free additional wealth. But here's the catch. The ultimate, totally unbuyable ingredient for all of this mathematical magic to actually work is time. The person who starts investing just $300 a month at age 25 is going to vastly outperform someone who waits until age 45 to start investing $1,000 a month. Getting started early with good enough investments will always, without fail, beat waiting decades on the sidelines trying to research the quote-unquote perfect strategy. You have to optimize for time, not perfection. So as you start building these automated systems and letting compound interest do all of the heavy lifting, I want you to ask yourself a question. Are you ready to stop scrolling, pay your early financial tuition, and finally step into a life of absolute abundance where money isn't a limitation but a tool that buys you ultimate freedom?